Doing integers and absolute value, you need to memorize integers. It's any number from this set, which is any number to the left of -3, and then -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and any number to the right. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 52, 100, and million, that type of deal, right? Okay, the one thing you need to know is integers do not have decimals. They're whole numbers. Whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, right? But they're also, integers also have the negative whole numbers. So -3, -4, -5, -10, -50. Right? It just doesn't have decimals or fractions. Any questions? So write this down. This is what you're going to see in your homework. It's going to ask you to give an example or write an example of an integer from this situation. All right, one situation they have is 23 degrees below 0. How do I represent that using an integer? Anybody? Brittany? -23. Good. Loss of 8 yards. Camden?
-8.
-8. That's all I do. Any questions? All right, write this down. All right, these are two inequalities you're going to see today. Okay, inequalities just compare numbers. This is what we call the less than symbol. And this is the greater than symbol. How do I know the difference? Well, it points to the smaller number, so it opens to the larger number. It's pointing here to the smaller number. This side is the smaller number. So I would read it as 1 is less than 2. Here I would read this as 2 is greater than 1. Does that make sense? So it opens to the larger number, it points to the smaller number. All right, draw this number line. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just draw some lines with these numbers under. All right, so we've got a number line here. Okay, sometimes it's going to give you a number line. It's going to say to demonstrate -2 and 1 on this number line using inequalities. So I'd write this -2 is less than 1. Is that your statement? Yes. Now it's said in two ways, so I have to write it a different way, but we're using the same numbers. So I'd write 1 is greater than -2. Is that still a true statement? Yes. That's all I have to do with that. So it's also going to give you something like this. It's going to, there'll probably be a dot right there, and it'll say replace that dot with one of these three symbols: less than, greater than, or equal to, and make it a true statement. So -4, right? That's greater than -6. The farther to the right you go, the bigger the number is. 1 is bigger than 0, but 2 is bigger than 1. -1 is bigger than -3. -1 is bigger than -4. The farther to the left you go, the smaller the number is. All right, so -4 will be bigger than -6 because it's further to the right on the number line. Does that make sense? -9, blank -2, that would be less than. The farther left you go, the smaller the number is. -2 is farther left than -2 is. So, it'd be less than. Any questions? Alright, write this down. What you need to know: absolute value of a number. If I ask for absolute value of a number, what I'm asking for is the distance that number is from 0. How far is that number away from 0? The one thing you need to know about distance is it cannot be negative. I cannot have a negative distance. There's no way you can go backwards in distance. Does that make sense? So if I ask for distance, can it be negative? No. So these two symbols, these big long lines right here around a number, is asking for absolute value. Those are the symbols for absolute value. We treat those like grouping symbols in order of operations. All right, so we always do those first. This is asking for the absolute value of 6. How far is 6 away from 0 on a number line? 6 spaces. How far is -6 away from 0 on a number line? It is 6. What is the absolute value of -9? 9. What's the absolute value of -55? Does everybody see a pattern here?
Yes.
All we're doing is we're getting rid of the negative sign. if it's included, which it's included here, here, and here, then we get rid of it. Does that make sense? All right. So write this down. So they're going to have us do some math problems today with using absolute value. So I have the absolute value of negative 8 minus the absolute value of 5. Now we treat it like grouping symbols, so we do those first. So I would do the absolute value of negative 8, then I would do the absolute value of 5. What is the absolute value of negative 8? 8. Because the sign is outside absolute value, I leave it. What's the absolute value of 5? 5. What is 8 minus 5? 3. And there's my answer. This says evaluate 6 plus the absolute value of x if x is negative 2. So first thing I do is I replace x with negative 2. Then I solve it. I evaluate. I do every possible operation. What's the absolute value of negative 2? 2. So what is 6 plus 2? 8. And there's my answer. Any questions on how to do that? Pretty simple. So all I'm doing with absolute value is I'm getting rid of the negative sign. That's all I'm really doing. All right. Here's your assignment. 43 is circled. That means I want 3 complete sentences explaining what you did on 43.